Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara. This week, Lietoc and I are joined by a LA-based field recorder and IATSE Y-1 journeyman Ian Wellman. Wellman has released works on Room 40, Dragon's Eye, Touch Radio, and Industrial Coast. He's also the host of Dublab's zone mapping radio show and been behind the scenes on several commercial and video shoots. His latest, The Night Stars on Ash International, is out now. It came out earlier this year. How you doing, Ian?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Nice to see you.
You too.
Yeah, long time no talk. We were just hanging last night.
Right. Thanks again for making the show happen last night with Colin, Andrew Sheffield, and Andrew Anderson, and Ian McPhee and Treadwife.
Yeah,
it was a great evening.
It was super fun. It was a nice little intimate evening, and with some nice sounds and a fun card shop. So if anybody's listening and you want to go to more, we host them pretty often. So
okay, nice. Yeah, Chuck was telling me that his ensemble is playing in November.
Yeah. We're working
on. Are we allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, that's fine. We're working on like a compilation of like live and studio cuts from the radio show, and yeah, Chuck's ensemble is going to play one of the release show nights. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
they're a great ensemble.
They really are. It's a great set of artists.
They have some kind of secret sauce with their sound, especially when we had that recording on the radio. It was like, how did they get this?
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Oh, were they playing on the radio show?
Oh, yeah. They played on the radio show. They're going to be on that like live and studio compilation we're doing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like the release show is going to be like all artists that like performed on the show.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Sounds fun.
Well, we've had a nice little talk there, but we should get into the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
The beginner end, and this is it. Ian, first we got to ask, how's the porch garden go? How'd that go for you? Did you finish your porch garden?
Yeah, it's coming along slowly. It hasn't done great just because it's been super hot this summer.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's a little sad, but we're trying to make it happen.
What kind of stuff are you guys trying to grow?
Some peppers and some basil.
Oh
yeah.
We do.
Yeah. We have jalapenos. We were trying to do like the Italian basil and the Thai basil, and then some eggplant as well.
Oh, that's sick, dude. I've always wanted... Go ahead, Maddie. I'm sorry.
No, just Thai basil, some of my favorite stuff. There, for a short time, was a Thai basil tea at Trader Joe's. And that's probably my favorite tea ever.
That's amazing.
With a little oat milk can be real beautiful.
Nice.
I guess you'll have to try and grow some Thai basil yourself and make your own tea, Maddie.
On the way.
Anyways, yeah. I guess outside of like music, what else have you been up to, Ian?
Been trying to do more hiking, trying to work as much as I can. The film industry is in a weird place right now since the strikes. But been trying to catch up on movies, read some books, and yeah.
Cool.
Are you going out and seeing anything currently or recently, or is it mostly just staying at home?
It's more staying at home to save some money, but but what did I see recently? Oh, we saw the new Alien movie.
Oh, what'd you think?
It was good.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen it?
I hadn't seen it yet.
I'm not the biggest fan of horror movies, so I haven't seen it.
I'm not scared. I'm all for that. I'm scared of the high dollars as well. So I usually only do like maybe a Tuesday night because the Michael does the deal for that. I couldn't get myself last night to do Megapolis because it was I want to see it in IMAX, but it was only at 10 o'clock and I was tired.
Yes, sometimes those late movies are tough to go see just because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's I don't know, one of your favorite movies you've seen this year, Ian?
I saw the TV Glow was really good. Have you seen that film?
No, I haven't.
Thomas, it's also
Okay.
I don't think, but it's not that scary.
Oh, really?
It's not scary.
Great. I saw it for a $6 one, and I had a blast with it.
It's great. I love all the influences too. Like I'm a huge shoo nerd, and I guess the director is also really big into shoo, and one of her influences were the last two songs on one of their earlier albums. What is it?
Oh, damn.
That's pretty sick, actually. Yeah.
I haven't heard that get covered at all. I think that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. Which album was it? Oh, are you looking it up?
Yeah, it was A Promise. Because the last two songs, one of them's Fast Car, which is a cover of the
the Tracy Chapman.
Yeah, Tracy Chapman. And it's real slow. And then the next song is just like a freak out song called Ian Curtis Wish List. And her idea was to like go from this like softer mellowness to this just like super abrasive. And I feel like it achieved that.
When did that come out? Was that recently?
Yeah, it was like June-ish. It was summer.
Oh, really? Oh, sick. That's cool. Yeah.
New H24 Canon, baby.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
It is one of the better ones, I think. I did really enjoy it.
I think the last horror movie that I watched, it was like Late Night with the Devil or something. Have you guys seen that one? I know it's getting a lot of like hate because they use like AI art or something in it. I don't know.
No, I've heard good things about it though.
I thought it was really good. Yeah, I thought it was sick. Anyways, so yeah, what exactly do you do in the film industry, Ian? I know you were saying there's like it's still a little weird because of like the strikes and stuff, but like what's going on? What's the haps with like the film industry?
So I'm a production sound mixer for film and video. And I'm in the union, and
sick.
Yeah, so I usually like either mix boom op, which is like holding the boom pole over people's head, and or utilitying, which is wiring people up with little like lavalier mics, because now they want everyone who talks to be wired up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it gets a little intense sometimes, especially if there's like 6 or 7 people who are talking in a scene. But yeah, I work more in like on the commercial side, or in a lot of corporate material.
That's cool. So like commercials and stuff, I guess, for like big corporations and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's cool. How'd you get into this?
I went to school at Columbia College, Chicago, and I went for documentary and then kind of fell in love with sound. And that's kind of how I got into field recording too, is just my love of recording and sound.
Yeah.
So this is where you were able to take film production classes, and you got like hands-on treatment just, with using not like industry microphones, and getting to understand like, hey, this is what you can do with it. Right. Because I remember doing that as well. I took a film production class, and I always cared far more about aesthetics, history, written stuff, and kind of just like the affect of sound, but the creation and the technology and like really doing something with it never I quite felt as strongly about. So I always find it interesting, when people like just completely dash off in that direction, because you can do so much with it. And I keep, again, with like the stuff you're doing, I'm really curious again about those microphones that you like to implement. Yeah.
For production sound, it's more using shotgun mics or little cardioid mics.
Yeah.
Like for close up interiors, usually use like a cardioid mic, and then for wider shots or for exteriors, usually switch to the shotgun mic, and then you use those little tiny lavalier mics for wiring up all the talent. But for field recording, I usually, with production sound, it's mostly monophonic recording. And then you build the atmosphere and the layers in post, which I don't really mess with. I'm more on the production side. But with field recording, I'm usually using stereo pairs of mics, usually two cardioids in what they call ORTF, which are like two mics like at 110 degrees separation. And ORTF is just an old like French radio term that they gave this style of stereo recording, but it sounds really good in ambient recordings.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Is that kind of a way that a lot of other people in general, when they're doing field recordings, capture it? Because I mean, again, I'm thinking of like someone like Claire Rose who will like just get an iPhone and just do something right there. So that's an option. But do a lot of people do this, or are there other kind of like middle grounds that you've?
Yeah, everyone kind of has their own way and techniques of field recording, and it's also all situational. Like some people will use like the little basically lavalier mics in stereo and kind of set those out. Some people set them out in the woods for like days on end with like a big brick battery, and then come back to it and have like days of recordings that they can sift through.
Oh, that's crazy. Sounds like a lot.
It's a lot of sifting. I don't usually like working with that much material. So, and I always like listening to what I'm capturing because it gives me a more like personal, it just gives a more personal feeling to it all. And then you have that experience.
For sure. I was going to say it's more of like an experience when you're like there, like you're listening to what parts you would actually want to use. You can like create like a vision in your head and stuff. I can definitely see that.
Exactly. And then it also just, for me, a lot of field recording is all about your listening and what you find interesting in that area. And field recording should, in my opinion, be a representation of your listening. And the ultimate goal is to represent those, to capture those sounds that you're finding in that space. And there's also different microphones that you can use to get different sounds. Like there's contact mics, there's hydrophones, there's geophones, there's different types of microphones. There's also a million different like ways of putting out your microphones in different formations to capture different spaces in different ways.
Yeah, I watched a really cool video that you did with Perfect Circuit, actually, and you were kind of like showing examples of like, different ways to, like position your mics and stuff for creating cool field recordings.
Right. There's a ton of different ways, and every situation sometimes has different methods to capture the sound. And it also depends like what equipment you have with you. Sometimes like the best microphone is the microphone you have. And that's why sometimes like having an iPhone with you at all times is great, because you have microphones on your iPhone that you can always record to. Yeah,
for sure. There's like so many, just from like watching your video and stuff, there was just like so many different, I thought one of the coolest ones was like the dish that you used around that mic or something? I forget. Like you were saying, it's more like a mono recording or something like that.
Oh yeah. So that dish is called a parabolic dish.
Mm-hmm.
It's a circular dish with a mic with one or two microphones in the center, and then sound goes into the dish and reflects off the dish into the microphone. So there's this natural amplification that the dish gives. It's great for birds and like sometimes bugs, and it just gives a natural amplification for those really delicate, quiet sounds.
So cool. And then I think another one of my favorite, I guess, methods or techniques or whatever from the video was when you had like the one like unidirectional boom mic with like a bi-directional mic underneath it. And you took like the recording of like the well, and you were talking about how like, I don't know, it's kind of like how you create like this atmosphere just by having like all three of those directions. And I thought that recording of the well sounded so sick. So thank you. That was another really cool technique that you were talking about.
Yeah, that technique is called mid-side. So the shotgun acts as like the middle, and then that bidirectional gives those sides. And then you can decide how large you want those sides by gaining up the side mic, or you can kind of close down those sides by turning the gain or volume down on it, and it just gives you more options in post.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, are you using all of these like techniques in like your work? Like, I know a lot of it's like situational. Are you like scoping out spots before you go, or like I'm just like curious, like what mics do you have on you? Like when do you know what to use? And yeah.
It's more, sometimes I'll go out and scope. Sometimes I'll go to a place very often and just like record there periodically. There's some spots in the forest that I go to regularly. Like the Chileo picnic area. I go to that quite often. And it's interesting how things change over the year. Like in spring, you'll have more birds, and then summer, it gets a lot more quiet. And then the birds that stick around might be there in the morning, but then get really quiet when it starts getting hot.
Interesting. Yeah.
And yeah, like every time you go to those places, you might pick out something different, which is always cool. And I usually have my recorder with me, and then I've been working with the mid side pretty often.
Oh,
but
nice.
Then, I also use like another microphone in there pointing at the rear. So you have a double mid side. So it almost gives like a 360 sphere around it. And that's kind of been my main system lately. And I also have contact mics with me. I have geophones with me. And then I have those little like lavalier mics with me usually as well.
Nice. So that's just kind of like your field kit. Like you just keep it in a bag and it's like, all right, I'm heading out.
Yeah, it gets a little heavy sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like a lot of gear. So I know we were talking a little bit, or you mentioned like birding and stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit more about like how you got into birding? Is this like just more of an extension of like your field recording work? Like how did you get into it?
Yeah. In 2018, I went on a field recording workshop in the Sierra Nevadas, and
that's sick.
It was a field recording workshop, but some of the main folks worked at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, so they were also like big birders, and some of their main focus during the workshop were birds, because that's what a lot of the folks there came to record. So that kind of like drew my interest into birds and the different sounds that different birds make. And and I've been slowly getting more into birds. They're a huge topic, so it's hard to learn it all. But
go ahead, Maddie.
I mean, it really is. I'm looking over at the site because I want to go run around my room and find a few of the bird recordings I've got that are all very distinct. But last year, I remember, do you know the label Dinzu Artifacts?
Oh, yeah, I love that label.
Yeah, so last year they had, I forget what the name was and who the gentleman who did it, but it was a bird tape. Mm-hmm. And he was really manipulating or playing with one particular bird that he had a spoken intro at the start where he said, I like this bird specifically because it has a very unique kind of kilohertz. It has an electronic sound. It has a very early kind of like 70s electronic sound. And ever since then, I live in a spot where there's a lot of birds outside consistently through the season. So I'm able to get little snippets and just hear it, I think, a lot differently now, or kind of appreciate like that. But I'm curious, like when you're going out for birds, do you look for certain sounds, or there's certain things that like you really welcome from that?
I mean, I usually just go and see like what's around. And if there's a certain bird in particular that maybe I've never heard before, there's an app called Merlin Bird ID, and there's this program in it that listens to the sound in the space, and then it gives you possible bird identifications.
Oh, that's cool.
It's gotten really good. Mm-hmm. So it's become a little more reliant than it was a few years ago. But I'll like whip that out and then be like, oh, it's this bird. And then like try to record it. And
so I was going to ask too, so is like field recording like really big in the birding community?
There's a lot of people who bird by ear, but there are a lot of bird recordists, but most people who go out birding are more focused on the visuals of the bird.
It's like taking photos and stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. I feel like the amount of people who like really are hardcore field recordist birders are a little smaller than the amount of birders out there. More often than not, you would see folks with a camera than a parabolic dish.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. Do you have a favorite bird that you found, like, or any like birds that are of interest lately?
I really like acorn woodpeckers. There's a recording on bioaccumulation of like this one acorn woodpecker that's just almost just like yelling at me. And they make some great sounds.
Yeah, for sure. That's sick.
Like another great kind of industrial sound, or just like, that's just naturally something that happens here. That's what it sounds like when somebody, plucks against wood like that really fast. So it's super cool.
It is. And just the vocalizations they make are really cool too. I've also been really into crows and getting more into the crow vocalizations too. And I used to live in Koreatown, and between like October to February, like there would just be a massive amount of crows that come every night. And we used to have this lot behind us that was empty, so that they would kind of congregate in this lot and make that their roost. So every other night we would have just hundreds of crows at the back door, which was really cool.
That's pretty sick.
Whoa.
Aren't crows like super smart?
They are pretty smart.
That's what I've heard. Like they can like solve like mazes and stuff. It's pretty sick.
They're really beautiful animals.
Yeah, birding is cool. I wish I could get more into it. I know that Ian Doctor, the one you met last night that plays in Tradwife, he was really into it too. He might still be into it, but like I I know he even went to go like work with like the USGS, and he was telling me about this specific bird they were studying called like the like greater sage like grouse or something like that. Have you heard of that bird?
Yeah.
It has like this really big
I have.
dude, it's the craziest sounding bird ever. Yeah, Maddie, it's like, or anybody that's listening that doesn't know what that bird is, I think it's like the males in specific, they have this like big bubble on their chest and they like make sounds with it and it just sounds so crazy. And yeah, it's really sick. I guess we can sort of move on from the bird stuff, but
one last thing just for the camera.
Oh yeah, do it.
It's this Singing Birds cassette, which is from 1990 by Silver Bells Music, but it says on the back, not subliminal. It literally has that printed on there.
What does that mean?
Text that this is a not subliminal tape of birds.
That's sick.
Because there's just so many different birds that could not be together. It's a bunch of birds spliced, but it's such.
Oh, I see.
You do it on a late summer night and fell asleep. It was really fun.
That's sick. Cool.
I'll have to check out that tape. Also, if anyone's interested in learning more about birds or like listening to different birds, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has the Macaulay Library, and there's just a massive archive of bird sounds from thousands of different recordings all over the world. And you can learn a lot about birds through that.
That's sick, actually. And then also there's a really great, I guess it's a podcast, but I think it's made for radio, but it's a show called Bird Note. And it's like these 5-minute shows just about a specific bird. And that was one of my favorite shows on KCSB. I wish they would still have it air, but you can find it on like streaming and stuff. It's great. Great show.
It's a good podcast.
Really great.
It's a great show.
Yes.
Anyway, I guess moving on from bird stuff, let's talk a little bit about more just like your music and stuff. Like, how did you get into music and DIY? Like, bring us back to like your earliest experiences with like, I don't know, music and whatnot.
I guess with like experimental music, I was really into shoo, and then at one point my big brother got a Wolf Eyes album.
Yeah,
it was Burn Mind.
Is that the Sub Pop one?
Yeah,
I got that one too. It's fun.
It's so good.
I missed Shoo last week. I just could not get the strength to go up, but I saw Wolf Eyes when they came through, and that's still a blast. They are a blast to see live.
They're super fun.
Did you see them in? Approachable. Did you see them in LA, Ian?
Yeah, they played a little house show in LA, which was cool.
Yeah, I didn't get to go, but that looked sick.
Thomas, you got the invite to the secret house show.
Yeah, I got the invite, but I couldn't make it. I forget what I was doing. I think I was hosting a show in like Ventura. But I was like, dude, I wish I could have went to the Wolf Eyes house gig. It looked sick. But yeah.
It was cool to see him in like such a small, intimate space. Where'd you see him, Maddie?
I saw them at the Soda Bar here in San Diego, which is a little Cindy Lee's played there, Omni's played there, Rolling Blackouts, Coastal Fever. A lot of indie bands of certain kind of like tier will play there. So then Wolf Eyes naturally can also like slide in along with other random San Diego stuff. And what was it? There was like 30 to 40 people. It's not a lot of folks that turned out for it, but all of us wanted to be there. That made for like an actually great audience. They put up their flag. The two of them were just in the back, just chilling. They did their giant piece, and it was like kind of throbbing gristle, kind of ambient jazz, you know, in a weird sphere of its own. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love. And then I got one of their tapes because they always have the tapes or stuff. And the person who opened was also really good.
Oh, Trigger Object.
Yes, yeah. It was. Yes, I really quite enjoyed getting to see them. I think I have the tape over there still.
Nice. Vern's super sweet, and she's really great. You guys should try to have her on the show at some point.
Trigger Object, they're called?
Yeah.
Dude, that's sick. I actually am not familiar with her work, but I'll definitely have to check her out after this.
It's like techno, but not. It's like tech noise, but a little. It's great. But yeah, it's techno made with like a modular, but it doesn't sound like modular music.
Yeah,
which is, in my opinion, kind of rare these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a gem.
Sick, dude. I'll have to check her out.
Nice.
So, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Maddie.
Oh, no. As you were saying, Thomas.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, so Ian, you were saying that you were into like shoo and like wolf eyes and stuff. I guess, do you want to, what were you saying?
So my big brother got that Wolf Eyes CD, and then he thought it was a Wolf Parade CD, and he was very disappointed.
And it was on Sub Pop, so it was like, well.
And then he was just like, "Oh, this is weird. You can have this." And I was like, "Oh, cool." This is so crazy, because I hadn't really heard anything like noise like that. And then that just like sucked me down a rabbit hole. And then the first time I saw Shoo Purient opened, and that opened up like a whole new spectrum for like noise and everything.
Was it one of, because there's usually like two types of Shoo shows from, I know it's like they're touring an album or it's a noise show. Which one was it? Was it the latter?
This was in like 2007, so they were touring for one of their albums. I want to say it was maybe like the Air Force, or no, Women as Lovers. I think they were touring with that one. Women.
Oh, that's Lovers.
Sick. But yeah, back then they were a completely different band than they are now.
That is true. I mostly know them because I know I think in the interview that you had done with Foxy Digitalis, you brought up Fabulous Muscles, and I know bits of that. And I've got Knife Play. That's always been just hanging out on my iTunes for years now. And then I have a tape of the Twin Peaks soundtrack. I love the work they did on that one.
It's so good.
There's some really inventive redux. I was like, I don't know, they need to do this. And I'm like, this might be better than the original, because they have so much fun. They really go out.
They really do. There's so many layers in some of it too. But yeah, and then I just got deeper and deeper into noise music, and through like my production sound stuff, I got into field recording. And then I also met some people who were like circuit benders. Do you guys know what circuit bending is?
No, like what does that mean?
They like often build their own circuits with like different components or audio, like electrical components. And a big part of the practice is taking apart like old kids' toys and then rewiring them to make them sound almost like demonic and like slow it down.
Yeah.
And so that was like when I first like got into kind of making music.
Yeah. So do you still have like any of like the toys that you manipulated from back then?
I think I still have like a little toy drum machine that like slows down.
That's super sick. So I guess like, where did you go from there? Were you like going to shows and like watching this stuff, or like?
Yeah, more just going to shows constantly. As I'm sure you guys have gone down that path, just
for sure
going to every show you want.
That's how it goes, you know? So where was this? Where were you based when you were doing like the circuit bending stuff?
Oh, in Chicago.
Okay.
And then, I moved out to LA in 2012, and then I started going to more like noise shows here, and then getting more into the scene in LA around then.
Nice. So this is, were you going to school in LA at all as well? Or this was like already when you were done? You kind of...
I was already graduated and starting my like career.
Yeah. Sick, dude. So I think I was reading on your website, you got involved, or I think it was on one of your albums, you got involved in like a collective, and that's kind of like when you started getting into like field recordings and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I met Jan Novak and Robert Crouch and Geneva Skeen, who run Volume, this sound collective that I'm part of, through a field recording workshop with Lawrence English.
Oh, cool.
And wow. That was kind of like my turning point into like really taking like field recording a little more seriously, and like learning about like listening and like reading more books about listening. And yeah.
So were they kind of like just teaching you pretty much like everything you know more about like field recording and whatnot?
Well, the workshop was a little more basic. Like it was more just like, Lawrence has a whole philosophy on listening and listening to the listeners listening.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of his like field recording practice. And so it was more about that, but it shaped how I began to listen to the world around me in a different way. Or it like started me on that path of like, oh, like this is how you can listen deeply to your surroundings.
That's awesome. So when did you start like making it, I guess, like into music and whatnot, aside from just like the field recordings? Like when did you decide like, okay, like I can do something with these?
Probably around like 2015. I just started like making little weird like field recording compositions that, just like putting like radio recordings. I was really into like recording stuff off of like WebSDR.
Sick.
And placing that with other field recordings. And it was kind of before I started doing like the long duration, like semi-durational, just like straight one field recording. It was like very small snippets of like a recording of like a train layered with like recording of water and like all of that.
So almost like sound collaging in a way.
Right.
Yeah, that's sick. So I see here also as well that you started a band with a friend, or you had like a duo project. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Oh yeah. My friend Aaron Tupac, who now is really into mushrooms and runs like a whole mushroom reading group. Like it's this reading group that focuses on mushroom books, and he takes them on walks.
Wow.
Mushroom walks. Yeah. Definitely look him up and take a walk with them. But we started this project after doing one of the Lawrence English workshops, where we had like a table full of home electronic devices, like battery chargers, like a Zune. And I think at one point we had like a PlayStation 3, like a back massager. But we would run like electromagnetic sensors across everything and kind of make music with just the sound of electromagnetics of these objects at home.
That's sick. So what goes into that? Like, how do you do that?
It's pretty simple and straightforward. I mean, it's just like little sensors that detect electromagnetics, and then they run through like another device that has an amplifier, and then you just run that to either your recorder, or in this case into our audio interface. And we were just like putting little light effects on Ableton. But yeah, it was almost like, do you know Pansonic or Megavanio? It became kind of like an homage to them.
Oh, that's sick.
Because it was very like beat driven and droney at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all just home electronics. But we played live several times, but
Yeah.
we never really released anything. So
Cool, dude. That sounds awesome, actually.
yeah, it was fun.
Sounds like just nice, like a nice feather in the cap to get to the next level.
Right. And like that kind of built my confidence in working on my own stuff and like performing in front of people and like getting to that next level.
Awesome.
I'm kind of curious about, let's say, some of the stuff that you've done last 6 years. Few different points, because in some of the other the one interview really that's out there, you talk about the necessity of limits and what that impacts with some of the gear that you end up using, I think, for just kind of producing this music. And that comes down to your Tascam 424 being like one of the critical pieces. Where did you get that, and how did that become such a big component? And do you like perform with that on stage or something else?
So I got my first 424 off Craigslist. I was really into the Boats and Craig Tattersall and the Tape Loop Orchestra and like that kind of stuff. And so I was really into tape. I never really got into William Basinski until after I got more into tape loop stuff. I just started messing with tapes and I loved having the restriction of just using 4 tracks to make something. And just the repetition of like that 7-second loop and how do you make that interesting without it getting too boring. But yeah, I don't really perform with the tape so much just because I'm always afraid that they'll break during a set. So I usually end up running like the tape into Ableton and just recording like 10 to 20 minutes of that tape loop. So I have that to work with during a live setting. But usually on the recordings, it's all just the raw tape. And there's no adjustments. It's literally me mixing straight to stereo track.
On top of that, something that at least I'd seen over really the course of the last like 5 to 6 years was a lot of focus on Southern California wildfires. Something that I've definitely seen in other field recording or other pieces over the last 5 years. I mean, Daniel Bachman has some really interesting stuff right now that's doing that. Do you know about German Army or like the color coat drawing project?
No.
That gentleman, I want to say the park that you were talking about, he did some recordings in 2019 or 2020 centered around that. I'm going to pull that up here in a second. But then I also think of High Orad or John Colladege with First Fire as well. Like all of that comes to mind with just the way that you've been approaching this topic, if I'm getting that right, because you've been interested in that. I'm like, where in particular, what do you see getting to just record different burn sites? What is that feeling like for you?
It can be a little eerie just because, I mean, it used to be something else and now it's completely changed. But
yeah,
I like seeing the progression of it slowly going back to what it was before, or seeing the new growth, because it gives a little more hope to the situation. And it shows that like life goes on after this terrible situation. But yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, it's really interesting. I know me and Maddie had to both go through like the Thomas Fire and like Santa Barbara and stuff, which was like pretty scary. But I go backpacking a lot, and like I backpack through the Santa Barbara backcountry where like the Thomas Fire like burned through, and it's really interesting to see like the new growth. You can still see a lot of like the trees with like the burn scars and stuff, but then like all the plants around it are like completely obviously like new, you know what I mean? So yeah, it is really interesting to see, I guess, just the regrowth of like what a fire does, I guess, you know?
Right. And to see like what wildlife is coming back, and just to see it regenerate is very hopeful to me.
Yeah, it's super cool. So I guess like what kind of like feelings are you trying to like capture when you go back there? Like what kind of sounds are you recording and stuff?
Sometimes it's the sound of like wind hitting the trees in different ways to represent the burn scars, and like at the beginning of the night the stars fell, it's this recording of this fire burn tree that's like very hollowed out, and the wind's hitting it and it's like creaking, like those feelings are just kind of like just showing what the fire did to it, to kind of give context of the situation, and just kind of like the hollowness that is in the space after the fire. And then the crickets on the next track kind of like bring the life back into it. Yeah,
that's cool.
And then some of the other tracks on that album aren't necessarily in the forest, but more in the desert. Like there's the wind blowing through this train that was derailed in the desert. And
that's cool. Yeah, there's something that's a huge effect you'll get.
Yeah, that's sick.
It just kind of gives this like hollowness to the situation. And yeah.
That's awesome. I think, so you're familiar with like, I guess like the Owens Valley and stuff by like the Sierra foothills, basically. Anyways, I was like driving through, we were on our way home from Death Valley, and like we were just flipping through like radio stations, and like we came across this like one station that was just playing like, we couldn't tell what it was at first. It was like kind of like a drone or something. It was like a small like low power station that I think was based out of like Bishop or something. And anyways, we like looked into it, and I guess there's like these abandoned silos in like the Owens Valley. And anyways, yeah, someone just put a bunch of mics around like the Owens Valley and was just like broadcasting. From this like abandoned silo, I guess like this whole like grain production facility or something. And yeah, it sounded so sick. Like you could hear like the wind blowing through it. And I don't know, it created like a whole environment and gave you like a whole picture as to like, wow, this is like really sad. And they're also trying to talk about just how LA is basically like stealing all the water from like the Owens Valley. So like there's just like all these like abandoned silos and stuff. And I just felt like that was a really cool way to like bring attention to the fact that, yeah, we're kind of like destroying the Owens Valley by taking all the water from it, I guess, you know?
Yeah, that project is really beautiful.
You're familiar with it?
Yeah, actually, I was working for the Metabolic Studio.
Dude, that's sick.
Summer. Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned this. But yeah, that project is really beautiful. It's just a silo, and then they put giant strings, like metal strings on it to slap the silo in the wind. And then they also made different plastic pipes to go on this other end of it, so it kind of like plays musical notes as the wind blows. But the artist is Lauren Vaughn, and she's been doing this project in the LA River for the last 10 years called Bending the River. And last summer they were doing construction in the LA River, and I was fortunate enough to record it for the duration of the construction.
Dude, that's sick.
And yeah, and part of the process was making the mother well, or what she calls the mother well, where the water from it's kind of the first stop from the LA River into this well, where it's captured on the Metabolic Studio site. And from there, it'll go to a neighboring park, the LA Historic Park, where it'll water the plants.
She worked on that, you were saying?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. And part of the process is shoring, which is shoving like 60-foot metal sheets into the ground using like vibrational force. And we made a piece recording that process called The Great Vibration, where it's recordings of the inside of the studio, listening to the studio's reaction to these vibrational forces being shoved into the earth. And it's currently on display at Chapman University's Guggenheim exhibit as part of Fulcrum Arts' Energy Fields, which is part of the Getty's PST art show that's happening across LA until January or next. It runs through next year. But if you're ever around Chapman University, there's a great exhibition by Robert Crouch and Lawrence English, and there's some really great work there. Like there's a Steve Roden recreation of Earth, and there's an anechoic chamber.
That's sick, actually.
Yeah, it's really great. I'll send you that information.
I would love to hear that. That's super cool. Yeah. Also, I think that this is so crazy that you worked with Metabolic Studio, because this like Metabolic Studio has intrigued me for so long. Like I literally think it was like 2020 or 2021 when I found that, and like have never met anybody else that knew what it was when I talk about it. So this is so sick.
It's a small world.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, not small enough, because you're the first person out of like all these years that like I talk about this. So, dude, that's pretty sick. So you were able to recorded the construction with the vibrations, is what you were saying? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so I spent this. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I spent the summer recording the construction in the LA River.
Nice.
And there's a whole library of like the whole construction process for like 4 months. And then this little piece is kind of like a little subworld that came out of that.
Nice. And so this piece is at Chapman, is what you were saying? It's like part of an exhibit? Okay, cool. And this is like all part of like the Metabolic Studio. And like, what was the name of that artist again?
Lauren Bond.
Lauren Bond? Okay, sick. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to go check that out. And anybody that's listening, check it out, because that was like one of the sickest things I think I've ever heard on the radio. Yeah, that's awesome.
So sometimes they'll like jam in the studio and or in the silo, and they have all these like homemade instruments made out of they're like different gongs and cymbals and stuff that they play, and sometimes you'll hear them jamming in the silo
on like the radio.
Yeah,
dude, that's sick. So are they still doing that radio station? Do you know?
I think so.
Dude, that's so cool. I need to listen to that more. I was just in Bishop too. I should have tuned in. Dang it.
They have a live stream on their website.
I'm gonna have to tune in. That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess moving on, I feel like we have just maybe a couple more points to touch on. Maddie, did you have anything in specific you want to talk about?
Really, the biggest thing is it's our album of the year right here, The Night the Stars Fell, which has been out since was it February on Ash International? It's been out for quite a bit. we've kind of tiptoed around a bit of it. I mean, that was the album in question we've been talking about, but really just want to go back again. There's a lot of depth to it, and I really do think there's like a unique personal character with just stuff that's going on that I've heard kind of in other people doing in their own ways. That then there are a lot of touch points. I also heard like bits of Gas and early LaBradford just kind of in going out into the forest or kind of the dark texture with them talking about how much you can get out of a loop. Your title track really recalls the 19th piece on Saw 2, I found at times. And I thought that was kind of interesting and I'm curious because if you, with these cuts, you were just using 4 tracks on the Porta Studio. It's when that limit there, they really do. There's like a direction to this. I know we've been talking, there's been a heady conversation on field recording. So it sounds like we are geeking out about noise, but there is an actual structure to this. There is a song, there is movement. And how were you able to really like develop and give that piece? Why, compared, I think, maybe to like some of the earlier work that you'd been building on top towards this?
It's hard to put into words how it happens. It's just sort of like you just kind of like maybe put in different sounds and see how they all sound together, listen to it for a while, and like slowly bring in another sound and see how that reacts with it. And once you have 4 tracks, I guess that's all you have.
And when you're talking about bringing in sounds, like some of the only other maybe immediate outside stuff, because you bring it in the liner notes, it was the few tapes you got off Craigslist. What kinds of tapes are those? And then what do you like to do with those tapes in particular? What sounds do you look for on them? Or do you kind of damage or play with the tape to get a sound?
Oh yeah. So mostly what I use those tapes for are just the shells. And then I take out all the tape, put new tape in, and then a lot of the sounds are more digital sounds. So you have this like weird like digital to analog back to digital thing going on too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the process. So the tape loops are more just like the shell, and then I build a 7-second loop and put it in, and then make it from scratch.
Mm-hmm. And then you're just, if you want to, playing with different kind of stuff on the Porta Studio to play with the mixing and just like figure out, it's like, hey, we can get this texture.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then a lot of it's like playing a sound, recording it at like a really high speed, then slowing it like as slow as it can go. And then maybe the next sound will just be like the sound at regular speed, and recorded at that very slow speed. A lot of it's like speed manipulation.
Just playing with the pitch shift, because you can really do something there.
Right.
And that also changed, because again, when you hear that, it changes that color of that texture. And if again it's like manic or really like kind of like slowed and sludgy, wow.
Yeah. And then it's a lot of like sitting with the sounds for a very long time. Sometimes I have like tape loops break in the process of like making a song, just because they just don't last that long.
Yeah.
And that, yeah.
What is because I know like Amulets used to do way back in the day, he was well known for all of the experiments that he was doing with that and the very, nifty shells. What is the life of kind of, and then also I'm thinking of like Aaron Dillaway as well, someone who's like really into just playing with his tapes until they die. And, when he loses something, that'll be gone. But what is, in your experience, like the life of a loop for you? Like
it's also,
or it's just all subjective?
I mean, It all depends how well you build that loop. Like if and sometimes like if it's hot, sometimes the tape separates from it, and then the tape loop's kind of gone. And but once the tape holding the magnetic tape loop together is gone, then the tape loop is kind of dead. Sometimes it like stretches out so that it no longer like winds in the shell. So at that point, sometimes you just can't play the tape anymore, and it's really hard to like cut it and make it sound okay again. So usually if that happens, I just scrap it and start fresh. But yeah, it just depends. I have some tapes that are years old, some that last like a few days or a few hours.
Wow.
So
I think that's just so cool because there I do think the pieces besides the loops, there's a development over several of those cuts, and they also you did kind of implement transitions, or there's from the recording I heard, you can tell when like a cut, you can very briefly tell when a cut goes from one to another, but it sounds seamless. Otherwise, it's a really seamless kind of just mix that came through. So it's highly recommended. It's super awesome. And I like, again, just the topic and that feeling it gives.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words. I'm super glad you enjoyed it and you listened.
Yeah, it
means a lot.
It was really good, Ian. And you can find that on Ash International. Well, I guess we're coming more towards the end here. I guess just like some final thoughts. I think I read that you're into like going camping and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Where do you go? Where do you go like camping and stuff the most? Like where's like your favorite spots?
I like the Trona Pinnacles.
Oh, sick, dude! I've been there recently. Yeah, it's cool.
That's where the derailed train car was.
Nice.
Yeah, it gets kind of weird out there with like the factories and everything out there.
Yeah, like the mineral plants and stuff. Dude, that place Trona is so weird. Like, I think I was reading that. I think it's like Riverside County or something, or I forget which county it is, but I was reading that the county had like a do not like a boil water order or whatever. So like the people that live there weren't even like, you can't even like drink the water that you have because like that place is so polluted from like the mineral plants and stuff. Like you have to like either buy water or I guess boil it, which I feel like I still wouldn't even trust.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? That place is so weird. It's just like, I love driving through it because it's like so strange and just like ghost town-ish, but there's still people there. It's so interesting, you know?
Have you been to the Salton Sea?
I have been to the Salton Sea. It's very Salton Sea vibes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then also Trona Pinnacles are so weird because they're basically, for anybody that hasn't been there, there's also Pinnacles National Park, like in the Central Coast. And it's basically just the same rock formation, just miles, hundreds of miles apart, which is so crazy, just in completely different regions. It's sick.
It's pretty cool. I'm glad you've been there.
Yeah, I've never camped there, but you know, we always stop there when we go to Death Valley. So, nice. And we've been going to Death Valley like every year for like the last like few years or something. But
I need to make another trip to Death Valley. Are the roads open yet? Because I know a lot of them closed last year during the floods.
Yeah, a bunch of them are open. Do you take like the backcountry roads and stuff?
I haven't yet because I didn't have my off-roader until we haven't made the trip with the off-roader yet. But
yeah, you
definitely want to go.
You should definitely check it out. I think that they opened up like a majority of like the backcountry roads too. And I think that like the backcountry roads are definitely like what makes Death Valley like super special, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. Where else are you camping and stuff? Do you do any like backpacking? Are you mostly like car camping and whatnot?
We've been doing more car camping lately, but I want to get more into backpacking. It's more about like finding the time to really go out and camp. That's why a lot of my sounds are more like localized, just because it's hard to go out for too long of a duration, just because I'm freelance, and then if I get a call, then there goes some jobs. But it's kind of like, I don't know. But I definitely need to do more backpacking.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. It's hard to make the time to go out there. Yeah, especially with like when you do music, like me with shows at least, and then just work and stuff in general, it's just hard to get the time. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's cool. Hopefully we'll see some more recordings from more camping trips or something soon.
Definitely.
I guess that sort of brings us to the end here. Maddie, did you have anything else you want to ask?
There was just a couple of final questions on my end. Speaking of work, and I was just curious, like some of your favorite commercials you've gotten to do something for, favorite job sites you've been on, any stuff of that nature that comes to mind.
I would say one of the more fulfilling jobs was that metabolic studio job. It wasn't necessarily for film and video, but it was definitely maybe the most interesting job I've ever had.
Yeah, for sure.
That pays far better than the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying you don't like when you get hired by Adidas to make commercials?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a different work. I mean, a live production sound really isn't super creative. It's cool to like say you work on film and video, but sometimes it's a very boring and long process. Like it's a lot of waiting, a lot of like cooks in the kitchen sometimes.
I could see that.
Yeah.
As it goes. And then kind of just music right now that's been in rotation or has been really thrilling you the most.
What have I been listening to? Oh, the new Shushu album is good. Going back to Shushu.
Literally just came out last Friday.
Yeah.
Did you see Shushu? I think they played in SoCal.
Yeah. I think they're playing next month on the 30th.
Nice.
So sick.
But also Endin. Do you guys know Endin? It's this Japanese. It's like a Japanoise like metal band.
Wow.
They're great. In like 2017, they toured with Boris.
That's sick.
Just saw Boris. They're great.
Nice. You probably like Endin. Well, one of the folks from Endin makes little like noise boxes and pedals. He does MASF pedals. And they're just like very highly regarded noise pedals.
MSF they're called?
MASF.
MASF. Sick.
Yeah. Those guys, and then
cool, dude. Yeah.
Folks.
Sick. I always throw this tidbit in there, but my good friends from Ventura, they play in a band called VTB. Shout out VTB. Their uncle is in Shushu.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah. Is it Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's amazing.
Isn't that insane?
He's such a good drummer.
Yeah, it's like really wild. Yeah. I think that he did a remix, or they did. I think Shushu did a remix of like one of their songs, and we're all just like, how did you get Shushu to like remix one of your tracks? And they're like, yeah, our uncle's in that project. And we're just like, that's wild.
Also, I'm just seeing
cool.
the Endon album, which is on Thrill Jockey, and it's like,
that's sick.
I remember literally just seeing this on the page. It just came out. I got to give that a look.
It's great. As far as like field recording stuff, sorry.
No worries, dude. This is always the hardest question of the show.
I know, it's so hard. It's like I'm always listening to stuff. The Alan Lamb Night Passage album on Room 40 is really good. Definitely recommend giving that a listen. It's like a reissue of like an old 70s album that's recordings of like telephone wires in Australia, and it's supposed to be one of the first like dark ambient albums.
Oh, ever. Interesting.
Yeah. And Alan Lamb just isn't very well known, and then Lawrence is doing this reissue and hopefully bringing it to the next generation. So definitely check that one out.
Any thoughts on the major dark ambient pioneer work of the Environment series? I mean that half jokingly. They're not dark ambient, but
So the environment stuff gets a little too like new agey for me, to be honest. I feel like field recordings like progressed in a different way since then, and it has its purpose in like the history of field recording and like making it popular to an audience. But I guess I never find myself going back to them.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I found 1 and 2, which it's Ocean and Thunderstorm, and then I have Country Thunderstorm. So I've been interested to hear the actual like middle group of the series if I just naturally find them. But it's like it's a manipulated thing, just like with the Singing Birds tape of you're bringing something, you're kind of staging it in a world instead of quite being a field recording. So it's fun. I love the Country Thunderstorm one because there's animals on it. So there's like a KLF quality that they arrive at, but it's still, as you know, like a simulation. It's not really a full captured experience. So I feel that.
Right. It has its place in the history, and they do sound good. But yeah, they're kind of fun.
I need to listen to those. That sounds interesting.
What you should listen to, Thomas, besides Alan Lamb here, is the Norman W. Long on Blorpus Calamity dub. I think it's been a few months since I've heard it, but I didn't want to put it away because I'm like, this is really good. I love because that's like the one like other Hasu Mountain guy I know that does field recording stuff, and oh my goodness, I thought that was so cool. That's some science.
Do you know that project, Ian?
Oh, no, Norman Long?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very well respected field recordist, and he does like a lot of like synth improvisations too. Wasn't he in I
don't know if he was in an act off the top of my head.
Yeah, he was in Angel Dawood's band, right?
That's wild. Dawood. That's crazy.
Whoa. I didn't know he was. I wonder if he was at the Big Ears show for her back in 2022.
Maybe. I think he's in that.
I know him from his Reserve Matinee stuff.
Oh, nice.
Because that was where I first heard of him, and he had done Steelworkers Drone, which was so cool.
I guess that kind of brings us towards the end here. Maddie, do you want to ask anything else, or
just where we can keep up with the work of Ian Wellman?
Yeah,
really. Title again.
I guess my Instagram is the best way. My website is very rarely updated.
I was still browsing it though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bandcamp as well, maybe.
Yeah, Bandcamp as well.
Cool. And do you have anything coming out soon that we can look forward to?
Yeah, something's coming out later this year, I believe, maybe early next year. It'll be on Room 40. It's recordings of street lamps.
Oh, dude, that's
And
sick.
yeah, it's like vibrational recordings of street lamps.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Let's see.
really looking forward to that. That'll be sick.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be out soon. But
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that kind of brings us towards the end of the show here. We do have one more question for you. It's kind of like the biggest one of the show. Maddie, did you want to ask it? Do you want me to ask it?
Got this, Thomas.
All right. I never have good scenarios like you, but Ian, so you got this rat, right? And it's going to jump into your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first, and why?
I guess butt first, because it might bite my tongue or something if it jumps head first.
Solid, dude. Yeah, that's a good answer.
What would you do?
Also, it preserves the rat's ears as well.
True.
That's true.
So still be able to appreciate recordings and possibly, take something from the shock of the experience and make recordings.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. Nobody really asked the question back, huh, Maddie?
We haven't had that back. We haven't had that yet.
Yeah, we haven't had it in a minute. I don't know. I usually like to go butt first, and then I like to pet it on its head, calm it down, and then put it underneath my hat. And then we make some ratatouille.
Nice.
Maddie, how about you?
I think I'm going to be taking it head first. It's going to be brutal one, Thomas.
You're gonna do. Oh, wow.
I'm going to be really sorry for how it all ends. I'm going to be sick of the whole thing on my end.
Honestly, Maddie, I don't know if I've ever heard your answer. That was crazy.
I thought I've given a couple bloody ones or ones that imply it has to be head, but I always, because we're thinking it's the white lab rat. It's a good little guy, but it's the shock of it. That's what it's going to be. And I'll be really sad when I accidentally decapitate it.
I hear that, dude. It's a reflex.
It's a reflex.
Poor guy should have jumped in your mouth. All right, Ian. Well, I guess that does it for the show. Thanks so much for tuning into another episode of TBD here on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. and kcsb.org. This has been Ian Wellman. Thanks again, Ian. That was really fun.
Thanks for the time. Thanks for having me on the show.